Hi, I'm Alex, this is Pucks and Paperbacks, and welcome to my 48-hour reading vlog. I am currently participating in a readathon called The Amazing Readathon. It was created by Brianna over at 4 Paws in a Book. I participated last year, and this is a readathon based on the show The Amazing Race. So this is a competitive readathon. This weekend is Face Off, and this is a part of the readathon where you just read as many short books as you can. The gist is that we are stuck in an airport and our teams have to find certain objects in a scavenger hunt, and to get team points you just need to finish a book in the 48 hours. So on top of the chaos that is already happening, I wanted to add my own sort of chaos. So I'm going to be hopping on the trend that I've seen around booktube where you use a wheel to decide how many hours you read a day. So this could either be amazing for my team or go horribly. So the lore behind Face Off right now is that we are stuck in an airport. So it's currently 12:30. Face Off started around noon, so I am really late, but it's fine because our flight's delayed, so does it really matter what time I show up? For this vlog, I need to know how many hours I will be reading today, and then I'll show you what my hopefuls are. I have my spinner wheel up, and I am terrified. I would love to get 4. That would be ideal. I would hate to get 1, and I would hate to get 8. I thought that 8 just made more sense and was more logical for this readathon and for my reading speed in general, but let's just do the thing. Let's hit it. That can work. We can do 7. I mean, yeah, I could do 7. I'm trying to justify 7. I think 7 is fine for now, especially for today, because I can pop on an audiobook. Here's my library haul. I have a shit ton of graphic novels. I'm also participating in the Queer Lit Readathon, so I would like to knock off some squares on that bingo board. Here's my bingo board right now, and I would like to finish Magical Boy to get magic. Okay, 7 should be fine. I think I can do 7 because I do still have to work for the day, so I'll just pop on an audiobook. I'm gonna be sightseeing and I'll be doing Face Off. If you don't know about the readathon, you probably have no idea what I'm saying, but the gist of the readathon is you are on a team. I'm on team lit fic, or just general fiction, and the premise of the whole readathon is that you are going to different destinations. This is all happening in Discord. Bree has done a phenomenal job. I participated in this readathon last year. That's where my yellow vlog comes in. And this year our teams are based on genres. I am on team general fiction, where you read historical fiction, literary fiction, and contemporary. Who's shocked? Nobody probably is shocked, but you are given a prompt every couple days and you just have to finish your books in time, and you are giving your team points. If you go down to my description and check out the announcement video, Bree talks about the readathon way better than I can, but basically it is just The Amazing Race, but books. So you just have to read books based on prompts and you're getting points for your team. But if you finished the city prompt, you can go on to sightseeing, and this year we have prompts. I have 2 audiobooks from Libby. I have A Lady for a Duke, which I honestly might start, and then I also have Beating Heart Baby, which are both books on my 12 for 12 challenge, and I have been doing really well getting those finished this month. I need motivation to read, and I love doing games and things, which honestly is probably not a surprise if you watch any of my videos. I love to turn my reading into challenges or games, so this readathon is perfect for me. For the city prompts, your points are based on your page count, but for Face Off, that doesn't matter. For Face Off, it is all determined on how many books that your team has read. So here are some of my hopefuls. I have a bunch of Frederick Bachman books, and I love him. However, I have not read anything that isn't Beartown, so hopefully I'll be able to squeeze this into Face Off or one of the city prompts. Like I said, I have a lot of graphic novels, starting with How to Be Ace, a memoir of growing up asexual by Rebecca Burgess, Family Style, Memories of an American from Vietnam, I can't see who the author is because my library is covering a lot of it. This is by Tien Pham. The one I'm super excited about is Roaming by Mariko Tamaki and Jillian Tamaki. They are some of my favorite authors and illustrators. I also picked up The Hills of Estrella Roja by Ashley Rubin Franklin, another queer graphic novel. The Moth Keeper by Kay O'Neill. I was just thinking about how I read Dear Mothman, which is not by this author, but how I'm reading another mothy book. North Hanger by Ray Takiro and Brie Indigo. I was actually just watching Audrey from Perpetual Pages. They posted a video. North Hanger by Ray Takiro, I believe with illustrations by Brie Indigo. And then last, a host favorite is Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle, and I didn't realize how small this is. It's very short. So honestly, I don't have the audiobook. I'm going on like an hour drive, so I think that this is going to be perfect to have in the car. That is everything for Face Off. I did get a couple other things, but I'm going to be making a library book haul over on Instagram, and maybe I'll also post it here as a YouTube short, so I'll have those linked down below. Let's start the timer. Ready, set, go. Hello, I just got into something more comfortable. I started the audiobook for A Lady for a Duke, but honestly it's too long for this weekend, so I'm gonna put it off to the side. So I'm actually going to start A Prayer for the Crown Shy, which is the sequel to A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. I read A Psalm for the Wild Built this month and I loved it so much, so I thought, why don't I pop on this audiobook for my first face-off book. I am reading Magical Boy, but you know what I'm saying. So just wanted to let you know that I'm about to work, eat some lunch, and I will see you later. Hello, I am 3 hours and 49 minutes into the 48 hours. I just cleaned up my room. I got some organization stuff yesterday, so I got that all together while I listened to the audiobook called A Prayer for the Crown Shy by Becky Chambers. I loved this series. It was so cute. So I got that finished, which was great because I got some GRC as well. If you hear anything in the background, it's just my air conditioner because it's super hot today. Now I'm on to my graphic novels. Second book in, I just finished Magical Boy Volume 2 by The Cow, and I just started crying at the end. I love this series so much. It is about a trans boy who is a superhero. It has Turning Red vibes, and I just love seeing a trans boy be a superhero. It is the coolest thing ever. There is a lot of Asian lore as the whole mythology thing that's happening is we have Max, who is a trans boy, but in his lineage, it is all women who get these superpowers, and he's a boy, so it's him navigating that. And this book particularly talked about him and his family's acceptance. His dad is so accepting, but his mom is still deeply rooted in her beliefs. I just love the way that the dad was like, you need to just move on and understand that this is our son. I thought it was so sweet. I love this series so much, and it was great. I'm gonna check off the Queer Lit Readathon prompt. I submitted it for Face Off. Next, I am going to pick up a short story that I have on my Kindle. For Face Off, you have to at least read a book that has 50 pages or more. So I checked and this one has 52, and this is By Your Side, a queer platonic short story by Margarita Scala. And I haven't read this author yet, but I follow them on Instagram and have been wanting to pick up their work, and I have it here on my Kindle. So I'm going to sit and read this. We are on hour 5, and I feel like I'm doing great, honestly. I'm doing better than I expected that I would. So I'm gonna get into this, and hopefully I can also read a graphic novel to close out today. It's a little while later now, but I did successfully finish 3 books in 7 hours. I will talk to you about it tomorrow, but I just wanted to pop in and let you know that I successfully completed day 1. Good morning. It's Saturday at 8:30 a.m. I just got out of the shower, I feel refreshed, and I'm ready to spin my wheel for day 2 of Face Off. Now, I will be out for most of the day today, so I don't think I am going to get a lot of reading done. However, I did say I have an hour car ride, so I am going to pick some things that I can read in the car. I'll show you those later, but first, let's spin the wheel because I am currently watching Sprints and I want to pick up something to read. I want to get started this morning. So, since I won't be here for most of the day, and I probably won't get as much reading done, if I get more than 5, I'm just gonna spin again because I don't think that 8 hours is realistic for me, so I'll just spin again. It's fine. But let's hope that that doesn't happen. Are you fucking kidding me? No. Honestly, I'm gonna stop saying things and just let the wheel do its thing because yesterday it did well for me. 7 hours was great, but I realistically cannot do 8 hours today. No, please stop. I physically will not be able to do 7 hours. I just told you this. Do it again. Okay. Oh my god. This wheel really wants me to go longer, but I already told you I physically cannot do that today. Give me at least 6, you know? 5 or 6 would be perfect. Oh. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, wheel. I am truly sorry, wheel. But honestly, this might help me. Well, 8 minus 2 is 6, so... Okay, I'll start with 2, and then if I think 2 is just not enough for me today, I honestly think 2 might be perfect, just like for this morning, but we'll see. I honestly might have to spin again, which would stink, but I think that 2 is realistic for today. So that means maybe on sprints I could do an hour, and then in the car I could do an hour, or I could go with my 6-hour method, but 2 hours should be fine. Oh man. Okay. Well, at least I didn't do a 10-hour spinner, because some people did 10, but I just thought 8 was more realistic for me. What I'm finding difficult about this particular challenge, where I have to spin to decide how many hours I read, is that you're basically confined to the hours, and which is funny because if I were in a mood where like I don't really feel like reading and maybe I'm just focused on something else, I would be totally fine with this. The 7 hours was perfect for me yesterday. I read 3 books, which was great, albeit they were. And then Psalm for the Wild Build I would say is my longest because it took me a little bit to read it. So I had a great time with the 7 hours yesterday. However, I felt myself just wanting to pick something up because I feel like I'm always reading something. However, I wish I could have done that because I was watching the Phillies and they went to the 7th inning and it was a rain delay, so I had an hour and 15 minutes to spare. I was watching YouTube videos and catching up on some games like Wordle and things like that, but I could have been reading a graphic novel or something in that time. So in total, yesterday I read A Prayer for the Crown Shy by Becky Chambers. I loved it. I don't know if this was my favorite one. I liked both the same because they're 2 different stories. The whole series as a whole is about sibling Dex, who is a tea monk, and they stop selling tea and stop being a tea monk. They're just finding out what their purpose is, and they end up meeting this robot, Mosscap, who is so adorable. I believe this is the first time Mosscap has encountered a human, so their dynamic is so cute. Honestly, this is such a sweet and wholesome series, and it is a great palate cleanser. If you know me, I'm not a sci-fi person, but what's great about this is it's sci-fi in the sense that it's like it's just like a different world, and we have robots and T-monks, and so I guess it's kind of also like a fantasy. I know sci-fi and fantasy can go together. This is not the space or astronomy part of sci-fi. This is just very cozy, and we're talking about robots and like what's your purpose on life. Sibling Dex also deals with depression and suicidal thoughts, and I just thought that this was great. So, Prayer for the Crown Shy is just following the events from the first book. It's so hard to describe this series because to me it's just vibes. Like, I love the vibes so much, but in this book, A Prayer for the Crown Shy, it was so adorable because Sibling Dex brings Mosscap to the town, and everybody is like swooning and so excited that Mosscap is here, and it is so cute. It ends up meeting humans and a dog and a baby. When it met a dog, it was so funny. I was cracking up. This was the perfect way to start out the day. Then I finished up Magical Boy Volume 2, which made me cry because I was just very happy. I love this character. I love seeing trans boys win, and I love this concept of a trans boy being a superhero. This is the representation I have always wanted, and I am a big Marvel person and really big Spider-Man person. I actually made a video where I read books based on my favorite movies, so I'll have that up above for you if you want to check it out. And last, I read By Your Side, a queer platonic friendship short story by Margarita Scala, and I enjoyed this. It was a little slow to start, and I won't say it was like my favorite thing, but I liked what it did. It talked about queer platonic friendships. We're following Emma, Noah, and Dawson. They are all roommates and friends. Dawson and Emma have known each other the longest, and Emma is coming home from a party where she sees that her boyfriend has cheated on her. He's kissing another woman at the party, and she's upset and angry. So she goes to her apartment and she is consoled by Noah. Noah says that he is a mixture of aromantic and asexual, and Emma just confesses her feelings for him, and they decide to be in a queer platonic relationship. And I think that that is so cute. They made a fort, and it was great. Like, if you just want some wholesome friendship vibe, if you love to read about queer friendships and books, I think that this is a great short story for that. I've been wanting to read this author since I follow them on Instagram, so I'm glad that I picked it up. I'll have links down below if you want to pick any of these up. But now, to day 2 of reading. Well, it's 8:30. Maybe I could try and read till like 9:30. 2 hours I feel like is so hard when you're doing a readathon, but this might be perfect for me. I'm gonna start off with Grief Slut by Evelyn Berry, and then I'm gonna read the graphic novel How to Be Ace by Rebecca Burgess. So I think that this will be perfect for this morning. I'm just gonna start my stopwatch when I start to read and see what happens. We'll see. I'll touch base if I feel like I need to spin again. It is a little while later now. It's almost 11 a.m. I am getting ready. I'm trying to like figure out what my hair is doing. I need a haircut so bad. While I was eating breakfast, I read Grief Slut by Evelyn Berry. This is a poetry collection by Evelyn Berry, who I know over on TikTok. She is a trans woman and a poet. I knew about the book from her TikTok, so I'm glad that I finally got around to reading it. Overall, I liked this. I am familiar with her work from TikTok. She posts some of her readings there, so I was actually familiar with some of the poems because she has posted her readings. But I enjoyed this. There were some poems I liked, some I didn't, but overall I really like her prose. I enjoyed the poems more at the end, maybe because they were more about transness, but most of the poems were about all different things. There was some about her late friend who died by suicide, so there were some about grief. There was things about boyhood as she is a trans woman, and Some of them talked about masculinity, which I enjoyed, but one of my favorites talked about RuPaul and his transphobia, and I just enjoyed the way that she talked about a trans body. There was a lot of poems about her body, which I really enjoyed. As a trans person, I enjoy and gravitate towards more of the ones about your body and just having a beautiful body, because trans joy is very important. I also enjoyed the poem called Iva, and it was dedicated to her best friend Iva, and I've resonated with that poem so much because she talks about the nostalgia of meeting up with a childhood friend and just talking about stories and, do you remember this? Did you remember that? And I resonated with that because I have been seeing my childhood friends a lot lately. My one childhood friend has moved a little bit closer and I get to see her kids and stuff, and if you're like me and have childhood friends, when you get to see them, that feeling is so surreal. It is one of my favorite feelings, of just feeling so comfortable and getting to see people and then reminiscing about our childhood and just catching up and things like that. So that poem really encompassed that feeling for me. If you're a poetry person, on Libby, I actually downloaded a manga called Confessions of a Shy Baker Volume 1, and this will help me for the Queer Lit Readathon prompt international, which I have not completed yet. I was going to use the Skin and It's Girl, but I don't know when I'm going to get around to that yet this month, so I thought that I would substitute something and this will be easier. It is published by a Tokyo publisher, so I will be able to check off international for that. But hopefully I'll start that in the car, or I'm gonna bring How to Be Asexual. And I'll bring you along in the town. They have a bookstore and some little thing, and apparently the streets are blocked off. Hello, it is around 10 p.m. I am waiting for the third period of the Stanley Cup final to come on, so I thought that I would pop in and let you know what I've read today. The 2 hours were kind to me, and I'll let you know what happened once I got back from my day of festivities. I went to Phoenixville and they had their art festival, so we walked around town and I got to go to the bookstore. I won't show you here because I'm going to be doing a book haul at the end of the month, so you'll see them then. I did get some reading done in the car. I finished How to Be Ace by Rebecca Burgess. This talks about OCD, panic attacks, anxiety attacks, intrusive thoughts, and I've really enjoyed this. I'm so glad I got around to it because I've been meaning to, and it is just about Rebecca Burgess realizing that she is asexual, and I really enjoyed this because the way it was illustrated was so interesting, especially how it evoked emotion. As you saw her having panic attacks and these intrusive thoughts, the color palette is dark, and I really liked that comparison. And overall, it was just interesting to read about an asexual person. I feel like I don't read about asexuality a lot. I read more about demisexuality, so I'm glad that I was able to read this. If you'd like to learn more about asexuality or just the perspective from somebody that is ace, this reminded me a lot of Welcome to St. Hell by Lewis Hancock. In that book, it goes over childhood to high school, but this is from childhood all the way to college and so forth. However, I wish that it did talk more about what the time period was. We do learn that it's the early 2000s, but whenever I'm reading a graphic memoir and you're telling me that there are certain points in the person's life, I just want to know what the date was. Just let me know what year it was at least. It was interesting because it wasn't on any calendars or anything like that, but I did get the gist that it's the early 2000s because she references that I believe she was in college in 2008, so it's around that time. I'm glad I got to pick it up because I was able to check off the Queer Lit Readathon prompt for graphic and mental health. I had some for the while built under mental health, but because this talks more about OCD, I thought that I would switch it for that. So I read this on the way to Phoenixville and on the way back, and then my 2 hours were up. But y'all, I was just in the groove and I didn't want to stop reading and I didn't feel like spinning the wheel again. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm adding another hour. I'm playing by my own rules. I never said I was fair, but I really wanted to read more. So I ended up reading the manga Confessions of a Shy Baker, Volume 1, and I enjoyed this. I've been wanting to pick it up. This manga is following an Achillean couple. This talks about capitalism, rainbow capitalism, and the fetishization of gay men. And we also have some stereotypes of gay men. So we have some flamboyance, and our main character, he is really uncomfortable with coming out. So at his job, I believe he's a real estate agent, only because it's mentioned. I could be totally wrong. The main character starts baking healthier options for his partner and talks about him trying to lose weight and things like that. So if that's sensitive for you, I don't recommend to pick this up because it talks about it a lot. And all of the baked goods are substituted with healthier options. We have tofu donuts for one, and there are the recipes. If you know me, I love books about baking, so this was fun for me. I love when a recipe is incorporated, but I thought that this was actually a sweet gesture as he was just helping his partner through a goal of his. I can't say if this was fatphobic or not, but I've read some reviews and they are mixed, but there was one review that stood out to me on Goodreads where they were saying how this was more of a gesture where he was just helping his partner with a goal of his and it didn't feel fatphobic to them. So I'll take that, but let me know if you've read it and you have a different opinion. I enjoyed this and I will pick up more of the manga series. I feel like these would be perfect for a weekend reading because if I just don't really feel like reading anything, this would be great. And it's amazing because I don't read manga a lot. I've only read 2 mangas in my life. Now you can say I've read 4, but I am definitely very new to reading manga, and as I've been reading it this month, I am slowly trying to train my brain because my brain, when I read a fiction book with just text, is always all over the place because I just want to get to the dialogue and I'm trying to like rush the story because I just want to know what happens. And with manga, it makes it so much more difficult because I just want to know everything and my brain doesn't know where to start. But I know that I have to read it right to left, but my brain just doesn't want to do that. We just want to look at the whole page and read bottom to top. I don't know why. I don't make the rules. It really talks about insecurities, and I also think it talks about living in Japan and the dynamic of being gay there or being queer at all is very different. So our main character at work, one of his colleagues suggests that they should deem themselves as LGBT friendly to get more customers, and he is terrified by this because he thinks it's bullshit, but also because he is so terrified that they're gonna know that he's gay. And he really talks about how he just doesn't want anyone to know that. He's really scared, but not even scared because of what people would think of him. It is really his own insecurities, and I thought that this was done very well. I would love to read more of the series to see where that character development goes, but so far we just got the introduction to the couple. Our main character is Tashi and his partner is Ganta. He calls him Gon, and they are so opposite each other, but they complement each other really well. Ganta is just very lively and Tashi just keeps to himself, and he has a lot of insecurities about being gay. He doesn't want people to know, but it's very different because he's in Japan and he talks about how unaccepting it is there. That made more sense to me. and I am interested to read the rest of the series just to see if he breaks out of his shell a little bit more. I really loved their dynamic and just how sweet Tashi was. Even though he is very dry and he's reserved, he was really sweet to his partner. So yeah, it was funny, but it also had a lot of important commentary, so I'm glad that I picked it up. That is everything I read today. I read 3 things again, which was nice, and now I'm gonna watch the rest of the hockey game. Tomorrow I won't be spinning a wheel only because face-off ends at 12, so I feel like I already have some established time there. Hopefully I can get up early because I would love to get in a novella really quick before face-off ends. I am going to be running some errands tomorrow, so I don't know how much reading I'm going to be getting done, but the fact that I've read 6 things this weekend is really impressive for myself. Honestly, I might have read 7 because I finished on Friday. I'm really impressed with myself because last year for Face Off, I read nothing. I think I read like 1 book, but that was it. I don't even think it counted because I submitted it like after Face Off or something. So I'm glad to have done that this time around. By all means, do not think that this is typical for me and reading is not a race or a competition. I'm just in a competitive readathon, so reading quickly and reading a bunch of things is the goal here, but slow readers are allowed, and I am a slow reader. If you're wondering how I'm getting through most of the novels this month, it's just been audiobooks, but everybody can read at their own pace, and I don't want anyone to feel intimidated or feel like they're horrible because they didn't read as much. It's a hobby. Reading is for fun. It doesn't matter how much or how little we read. I just wanted to make this silly video. I hope that it doesn't discourage anybody. Maybe it will motivate you to read more things, because honestly, I'm motivated to read some graphic novels and manga during the weekends where I say I didn't read anything. Reading doesn't need to feel forced, but I'm not gonna get on to a whole tangent about that. I'm gonna go watch hockey. I wanted to just update you. I'll see what I get to tomorrow morning. I would like to get to this book. It's a novella and it's going to also work for the Queer Lit Readathon. Okay, I'm gonna start rambling again, so I'm gonna go and I will see you in the morning.
But her belly told her to at least get one of the rice cakes if she could. And her belly had learned to speak very loudly on her travels. Theo tucked her grass traveling shawl a little more snugly around her shoulders, and she nibbled at one of her own rice cakes politely.
Hello, it's Sunday and I haven't gotten much reading done. This morning I started When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain by Niveau, which I'm going to count for the Queer Lit Readathon space for non-European mythology. I have the ebook from Libby, but I'm not a fantasy reader, so I switched over to the audiobook just for it to be easier for me to comprehend. So I'm gonna do some hybrid reading before I wind down for the night, and I started the graphic novel North Ranger by Ray Terciero. This is a reimagining of Jane Austen's Northanger Abbey, and it is a queer romance. So I'm going to finish these up for the night, but that is it for this reading vlog. I know it was short, but I got a lot of reading done. I am very impressed by myself because if you know me, I am a very slow reader. In the comments, I would love to know what you just recently finished and if you enjoyed it or not. And if you haven't finished anything, maybe what you're currently reading, let's chat in the comments. If you're new here, hi, I'm Alex. This is Books and Paperbacks, where I love to rant and rave about queer and trans books. So if you're into that, feel free to hit subscribe. The best way to support the channel is to like, comment, and subscribe, so thanks if you do, and I hope to see you in my next video very soon. Bye.